with all these Guggenheims, how was it that Harry sort of floated to the top?
Well, that's a great question. I think that Harry was judged to have a lot of the characteristics of his father, Daniel, who had led the family partnership, which, as you said, was the seven brothers, all of whom were Harry's uncles, and his father, Daniel. I think Harry was the son who was most like Daniel in terms of the person who had the business acumen, the tenacity, and I think the intelligence to get involved in some of these other family businesses. Harry's older brother, Robert, at one point just announced to the family, every family has a man of leisure, and I'm going to choose that role for myself. So he sort of took himself out of the running to some degree. Harry also had a younger sister, Gladys, who would probably have been a very fine head of the family, but in those days, patriarchal bias was sort of the order of the day. So it kind of fell to Harry to take over for his father, and I think that aviation was probably the biggest impact that Harry made when you think about his various social impact investing and his various philanthropic efforts. But that really came out of a hobby that he developed shortly before World War I, and then he was an aviator in World War I, and kind of turned his hobby into something much more impactful.
Now, how did he get involved with Lindbergh?
Well, Harry first met Charles Lindbergh a couple of days before Lindbergh's famous flight from New York to Paris. Harry wanted to come down and see the plane that Lindbergh was going to fly, and he was really disappointed by what he saw because, as you probably know, Lindbergh's plane had been stripped of everything that had any weight to it. He was trying to make it as light as possible to allow the plane to have carry more fuel for that length of a flight. So Harry checked out the plane, he met Charles Lindbergh, and he felt like, this guy's doomed. He had no chance. So as we know, Lindbergh made it. And when Lindbergh came back, he looked up Harry, and they hit it off immediately. I think they had a lot of things in common. They were both Republicans. They both were kind of cerebral by nature, but they both had this passion for aviation. And I think they also kind of recognized a sort of inverse relationship to power that they had, meaning Lindbergh was the most famous man on earth at that point, but he didn't care about getting rich. Harry was already rich and didn't really care that much about being famous. So I think the two of them realized that with Harry's wealth and Lindbergh's fame, that's a pretty powerful combination.